guy in the NBA should ever wear 23.
I've been working on that shot my whole life, and for that one to go in, that was liberating right there, man.
And I'm not shoving it aside, like it don't mean anything. I know it's important. I do. I honestly do. But we talking about
23 Shots of JD podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to the 23 Shots of JD podcast. If you're new to the podcast, thanks for tuning in. You're probably saying that everything seems fine as usual, because obviously it is your first podcast, so you would think everything's probably just in the regular. But if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, even maybe you're one of the first listeners dating back just over a year now, the 1 year anniversary for this podcast was just a couple of weeks ago, which is awesome. I want to thank everyone who's been listening to the podcast since then. It's been an amazing journey so far, and I hope to continue heading into 2019, which we'll sort of get to later. Sorry, but I guess first off, I should say Happy New Year and Merry Christmas, and sort of happy holidays to everyone. Merry Christmas and New Year sort of. So for some people, some of the busiest periods, especially people around my age, your young 20s, especially if you're working in retail and stuff, it's one of those tumultuous times when it's sort of like, it's just sales, Boxing Day sales, Christmas shopping, and then New Year's with more. It's just a really tumultuous time. So people that had to, put in the hard yards during the sort of New Year, so the Christmas New Year break. Good on you, because I was able to cop some mad deals, so cheers to you guys. But I sort of got sidetracked a little bit. The reason why I was saying, especially to the new viewers, if I think it sounds normal, but to the listeners who's been sort of on this podcast for a while now, there has been evidently some big inactivity from myself. The last podcast I posted was October 31st, I'm pretty sure. I double checked, but I think it was October 31st, which incidentally was Halloween. But yeah, that was the last podcast I posted. And if anyone listened to that podcast, I really delved in deep in what I was looking to do to sort of close out 2018 overall with the podcast, looking to try and stay consistent. I'm not sure if people aren't aware, I actually went on a 2-month sort of backpacking trip across Asia, Southeast Asia in particular, and I was really looking forward to trying to do some podcasts out there, trying to do a type of travel documentarian type podcast day to day, whilst trying to sustain the more sporting basketball centric podcast at the same time. But as I sort of get to, there was sort of a lot of logistical problems and just straight up robbery, if you want to be, if you want to be straight up as well. But you asked how my holiday was. Thanks for asking, my computer. Jesus, sound like a real psychopath. You just want to realize as well, if you do a podcast solo, especially what I've done in the past couple months, you sort of realize that you're actually quite a bit of a psychopath. You talking to yourself, you're trying to start a conversation by yourself, and you're trying to sustain an entertaining conversation by yourself. So you put in like voices like "hello there" and all that. You know what I mean? It's sort of just like you're wilding sometimes. You're really wilding. Like people like, that's why I respect people that do solo podcasts like Bill Burr, Chris D'Elia, even Brendan Sharp to some extent does a podcast by himself, even though he has sort of that back and forth interaction with Chin and all stuff. But yeah, hopefully. There's been a lot of great feedback from emails and tweets and all that stuff, and just people messaging me privately saying that they actually like the solo podcast, which is, for me really, really appreciative, because I was really hesitant, especially when David left the podcast to do other things. I thought sort of hesitant to figure, to even continue with the podcast. So, with all the great feedback with people, giving me and stuff like that, it's actually quite warmed me to the heart, and so it makes me more fueled with passion to try and continue to try and produce some low quality content as I'm sort of used to doing. But with the holiday, it was pretty good. I say 2 months. I sort of rounded it up. It was more 6 weeks. It was a pretty good holiday. Southeast Asia is an amazing place. If if not many people have really been there, it's a really, really amazing place. It's sort of what I realized, especially coming from a first world country like Australia, where it's very multicultural, but at the same time, very urbanized and very westernized, I should really say. And going to Southeast Asia, you see that they're still really, really deeply entrenched with their culture, whether it be sort of more religious centric, or sort of have more just this sort of tribal undertones to it. These sort of Asian countries are more conduced to having this heritage that's really, really sacred and really, really profound, and really emanates throughout the whole city. Even though there were some cities that I went to, like Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, or even Singapore, where there was sort of this big push towards this westernized ideals, with a big CBD precinct, and things like that, big shopping centers that are more commercialized, and things along those lines. They still try to foster and hold on to this idea of cultural heritage, which is really, really heartwarming to see, and really, really cool to hear and stuff. As I sort of alluded to, I did have the plan to do some podcasts out there. Really, what I was looking to do is try and interview some backpackers and stuff that were sort of on a long journey, which I did meet. There was a lot of backpackers that I met that were on these 6, 12, even to 18th month journeys. Even some people that were like in their mid-30s who've been traveling for a while now, that sort of predicated traveling as one of their main passions and one of their main goals in life. So that's why I really wanted to interview them, see why they wanted to do that. Sort of if it's like some type of escapism, or they wanted to explore, what sort of just like why people wanted to travel and stuff. That's sort of what the intended series was meant to go. But things didn't really pan out that way. Excuse me, had a big Chinese dinner. Gee, I don't know why I have to say that. The reason why it didn't come to fruition at all is because sort of the logistical issues that proposed itself in Asia. A lot of the countries, even though I went to a lot of, I guess, quote unquote mainstream countries like Thailand and Vietnam and stuff, I did go to a lot of more low key places like Laos, Myanmar, countries like that. So a lot of these countries that I went to didn't really have a very stable infrastructure in regards to sort of internet providers and stuff like that. Myanmar was just like it was hard to even get any internet at all. Laos was more okay, and then sort of when I got to the more commercialized, I guess I don't want to really say commercialized, but you still get the gist of what I'm saying of these countries like Vietnam and Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, and stuff like that. It sort of got easier, but it just didn't really pan out as I did. And I did mention Robbie, where basically I got jacked up there, and got stolen a bunch of stuff, which basically had a lot of recording and stuff that I was looking to put out. But that's sort of what happened, and sort of what goes on and all that stuff. So that's sort of what happened. But never to fear, things will be coming soon. You don't worry, because sort of you got to look at the silver linings and things. And even though that happened, I'm still got some things tucked up in my sleeve, which probably won't be tucked up anymore, because I'm gonna mention it very, very soon, which is some plans and stuff I got for 2019. Just on top of that as well, I did come back sort of mid-December, so I could have done some podcasts, especially around the December period, maybe reflected on the Christmas game days, like the Lakers pumping the Warriors and what have you not. But there was sort of actually some licensing and renewing issues with sort of the podcast provider I used. It was just sort of some issues in regards to sort of payment plans and stuff like that. So it took a long time to fix. So there was some situations with my bank as well, which didn't go too nicely. So it really was an overdrawn period to which could have been solved very simply. And in the end, I was able to fix it up. And this is why I'm recording right now as soon as I could. So I give you guys some bit of awareness of what actually the hell's happening around the old 23 Shots of JD podcast joint. Furthermore, actually, not really furthermore. I don't know why the hell I said that. Yes, like I mentioned, 2019, New year, is it really gonna be a new me? I said I'm gonna get a 6-pack for ages, still fat as F. What else have I said that New Year's? I said I was gonna be more focused on uni. I actually really want to do that. I think I'm gonna try and be a lot more focused on uni. What else? I'm actually trying to get back into sport. I don't know why I'm like doing my New Year's resolutions on here. I really shouldn't do that. This is straight. 23 shots of JD. Hey bro, where's the podcast? I just want I want to know why like James Harden's not the MVP to you, bro. I want to know like why AD should not get 12. Blah 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 blah. All this BS. But getting to what I was gonna say. The plan moving forward for the 23 Shots of JD podcast is very, very exciting and one that I'm actually very happy to talk about. What I sort of alluded to earlier with, me trying to do that Asian series, Asia backpack trip series, I'm actually going to do a rendition of that. I'm going to do a cool, more sort of edited, how would you say? Yeah, I guess sort of a more edited, a more, I guess, refined podcast in regards to that. I'm not sure what I'm gonna call it. I was thinking AAA Asian band. I don't know. I'm still sort of brainstorming names and stuff. I'm sort of excited about this idea, but basically I'm gonna do sort of a more refined podcast series where I break down each place I went to and sort of give some tips and sort of lessons I learned on my travels and stuff like that. Which I'm looking to sort of premiere. Depending how quickly I get this, obviously there'll be more information come to you, like a trailer and stuff like that. But potentially maybe NBA All-Star break or the 1st of March. So one of those 2 dates, I'm looking to sort of present that idea to present that series to you now. But yeah, like I said, there will be a 2019 Asian series podcast, which is really, really exciting. Where I'm looking to, like I said, break down each sort of thing and see how it sort of progresses from there. It's gonna be sort of more edited and more refined and make it sort of more like an audio documentarian series, which I'm not sure has really been sort of done. I don't know if there's any examples. If there is any examples that I'm not trying to copy or anything, but sort of ones that I can get inspiration from. It'll be great if you guys could sort of send me or link me these, via my Instagram, which will be in description, or email it to me as well, which all that information will be in description of the podcast. But yeah, definitely, if you guys were really intrigued about my journey, and sort of what I guess experienced in Asia, definitely look out for that because I'm really excited for it. You're gonna hear like, oh my god, like it's gonna be like a pretty decent series. It's not gonna be like me being like a 21-year-old UK backpacker who doesn't know what they're doing with their life and like, oh my god, like it's not UK. That's the US. That's definitely a US accent, but like, oh my god, like I went to Asia and like my eyes are open and it's just sort of I realized that I have it. So it's not gonna be that BS. It's gonna be straight up sort of breaking down each area, what I learned, what I liked. And sort of more of a reflection of how what I was able to gather from there is going to be indicative to sort of a dichotomous reflection of what's I'm experiencing in Australia and stuff. On top of that, obviously with this release of the podcast, you're going to realize, at least for Australians, it's releasing on Saturday. In America, it should be Friday, maybe like Friday Arbor, maybe even Friday night around that time. I'm not really too sure when I'm going to post it. And UK, you can fucking figure it out for yourself. But, yeah, like I said, also like I was alluding to, this podcast that I'm recording now and it's going to be released on Saturday is sort of the stencil I'm going to use, especially for this basketball/sporting podcast. I'm going to be, generally I used to post this on Tuesdays, but now I'm going to switch up to Saturdays. Why am I switching it up to Saturdays? I think Saturday is a lot better for me to encompass everything that's happened within the week. It's sort of like the podcast, I think when I was doing it on the Tuesdays was sort of a bit muffly. Could have like, there was stuff all the way at Wednesday, which is sort of, Wednesday's a weird time to sort of reflect back on. I think if I reflect from like the Saturday, Sunday, weekend, things happen in there, but more so from the Monday to Friday stuff. I think it's a better reflection on on the NBA week as a whole. And I think it's sort of just a better time frame, especially Friday over, maybe on, at least for the Americans, you're on, transport back. You can listen to it. I heard a lot of people like to listen to the podcast on public transportation and things like that. Or even going on like a walk or going to the gym and stuff. A lot of Aussies like to say they listen to that as well. So, that's sort of the plan moving forward with that. And just on top of that as well, even though I did say, I'm gonna say it now. I'm committing to posting a basketball podcast every single Saturday, Australian time, so Friday US time. Sort of a little goal of mine. I know, especially when this podcast went solo a couple months ago, I was a bit complacent. Sometimes I do it once a week. Sometimes it got to once every 2 weeks and stuff like that. But I'm going to try and be a lot more consistent with the podcast and definitely aim to do that Saturday podcast every week. But even though I am doing that Saturday podcast every week, there is no barrier to me doing other podcasts throughout the week as well. Especially coming up, I have intentions of doing a sort of NBA All-Star podcast where I'm going to pick all my NBA All-Stars and break them down why I believe each one should be an All-Star. And on top of that, I'm going to do a mid-season review as well, which it's going to happen in a couple weeks. So that's probably not going to be part of the Saturday. That's going to be a standalone episode as well. Maybe not as long as the regular episodes usually, which are 45 to an hour. Maybe these ones are going to be, maybe half an hour long or whatever. But nonetheless, we'll be there and sort of, be there as an option for people to listen to as well. Because it's going to be, I think it's just like me. Sometimes there's just topics that are too deep to just explore in an episode where there's so many other podcasts to, talk about. Like, I can already say in this podcast, there's a myriad of basketball topics where I could even, talk about these for half an hour or so. So, I think in regards to that, if you, on the Saturday podcast, don't listen or don't hear, or I don't sort of address a certain topic that seems to be a big one in the world of NBA, or even more greatly, the world of sport, be certain that I'm going to definitely talk about that maybe as a standalone episode on like a Wednesday or Tuesday or something like that. So, definitely look out for that. I'll try and do that more often. And I guess the reason why I sort of do that as well is that I want to sort of up my YouTube game as well. The YouTube page, if a lot of people probably don't even know, because I know how many subscribers I have on the YouTube page and how many people listen to the podcast, there's definitely some great disparities within that. But if you didn't know, I have a YouTube page, 23 Shots of JD. On YouTube. That's usually I just post YouTube videos of the audio of the podcast as well. Just if people want to access the audio on YouTube and stuff is another option. But as one of my goals, especially for the podcast in 2019, I want to sort of boost up the YouTube a little bit. Maybe add some actual clips. Maybe put the whole audio podcast and then try and break down or sort of extract some more distinct clips from the podcast or from that podcast episode, and sort of make it more visually appealing. So maybe, it's more suited to YouTube and stuff. But definitely subscribe to that. The more support, I guess, sort of the more inkling I'm going to be doing to try and boost up the YouTube and stuff. But definitely check out the YouTube. And probably something I won't address now, but definitely in the future, I'm looking to implement another new series, or maybe one or two new series even, especially when the basketball season starts to die out. So that won't be for a while. Like I said, we're only sort of halfway through the season, so that's probably not going to come anytime soon. But definitely, we're sort of reflecting back on that sort of weird period when there really was no basketball news, or really nothing to note about basketball. Sort of just like trying to pick out really just a lot of storylines that were already sort of getting beaten around the bush in a lot of other programs and stuff. So I thought maybe sort of when the basketball season starts to falter, I'll try and implement a new series, which I'm sort of excited about as well. But you'll look to sort of hear that in the coming weeks or even months. But I guess sort of that was all mouthful. It's already been 90 minutes, a lot of mouthful stuff that you heard. But basically the gist of what I just said, Asian backpacking podcast, sort of a more refined podcast series, maybe a docu-series in audio form, is going to be coming to you around either the All-Star break, if not March 1st, which there's still definitely a lot of work to get into with that, so that's why I'm not entirely confident on how that's gonna sort of transpire. But obviously, I'll let you guys sort of with more news and stuff along the way. And on top of that, podcast now it's going to be the weekly podcast is going to be posted on Saturdays, with exception to some other podcasts, maybe some one-off topic podcasts that might sort of hit you in the middle of the week, maybe like a midweek moment or midweek mashup. I don't know what I'm called. I don't know. I'm really bad. I'm really bad with names. So yeah, who knows? But definitely keep an eye on that. But as I mentioned, there is a lot of basketball topics that I want to get into. And obviously missing you 2 months worth of podcasts. So many things have happened. I think the John Wall situation happened. The whole John Wall Bradley Beal Wizards situation was happening when I was on holidays. Jimmy Butler got traded when I was on holidays. Just a bunch of stuff was happening on holidays. But sort of the thing that I've sort of kept up on, and that's things that are sort of still noteworthy in the NBA, we sort of want to go address to now. And one of those big things is the Los Angeles Lakers. Assuming he's going to take a sip of water. ASMR. So Lakers Nation. Obviously now LeBron sort of injured for the foreseeable future with that strain grind. I don't think it's going to be too much longer, but it will be a couple more games. And sort of with the Lakers schedule, it's sort of conducive to them being able to try and play 500 basketball. But we'll see what happens there. But sort of just some reflection of the Lakers season as a whole, even prior to LeBron's injury on Christmas Day. They're playing pretty decent. Obviously, there was a lot of things to sort of work out. There's a lot of different storylines that were happening. With who's the second star emerging? Is it BI? Is it Kuzma? As it's come very, very clear, it is Kyle Kuzma, who they definitely missed last game against the Oklahoma City Thunder, which is obviously more unfortunate news for the Lakers. But yeah, Laker Nation, prior to the LeBron James injury, sort of pretty happy. I think they were at that time top 4 in the West. And sort of gaining a little bit of confidence. Obviously, they lost some pretty tough games that they should have closed out, which again is sort of a continuing problem for them. They're not able to close the fourth quarter out, and I think it's just a lack of shooting, I guess, or just a lack of threats. And obviously, a lot of the threats started at point guard position, and with Rondo out, it seems that Lonzo Ball has been burdened. I wouldn't say burdened, but given a lot of control and a lot of power within the Lakers team right now. And he's had some really good games. He had obviously that triple-double, 16, 10, and 10 with LeBron James, the first teammate triple-double. 2 teammates getting a triple-double in the same game since I think it was Vince Carter, Jason Kidd. And for the Lakers, that was like Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So obviously that was, ages ago. In regards to the grand scheme of things in the season, I guess. But he's sort of Lonzo. I love Lonzo. Lonzo's the guy I follow. The reason why I sort of watch the Lakers is just for Lonzo Ball. I like Lonzo Ball. Maybe it's because I watched his. I have relatives that live out towards that Chino Hills area. Maybe it's because I got to watch him in high school and stuff like that. There's a lot of reasons why I like Lonzo Ball. But I think, as a Lonzo Ball fan, and a lot of Lonzo Ball lovers would probably tell you, it's getting hard to like. It's getting hard to support him pretty hard. Because the man can't shoot free throws. The guy's right now 45% from the free throw line. 45%. This guy's not even make one. Shaq was better than Lonzo Ball. It's not even make one, take one. This guy's somehow 45% from the free throw line, and watching him at the Oklahoma game, he just chucks it up. It's like he doesn't even have the proper form where he does it in the 3-point shots where he does the follow-up there. He still just chucks it up and hope it goes in. This is an NBA player who was the second pick in the NBA draft who's hoping for free throws to go in. And no, I'm not talking about Markelle Fultz. I'm talking about Lonzo Ball. He has no excuses. He doesn't have some nerve tendon injury in his shoulder. No. Lonzo Ball can shoot. He can shoot threes. He's improved in threes. He's better than Westbrook at threes. He's nearly as good as Klay Thompson at threes. But the man can't shoot free throws. Come on, man. And because of that, he had to get taken out in the Oklahoma game early. in the fourth quarter, he was just unplayable. He was unplayable. He had a couple drives into the lane and they fouled him and he couldn't convert. So what? He drives, he gets fouled, and he can't convert. They've hacked Lonzo him. He didn't really attempt many threes in that game either. But it's sort of just like, even though he did a lot of great stuff prior, even like in between that period when LeBron James got injured in the OKC game, he had a near triple double with the Sacramento Kings where he daddied De'Aaron Fox. He had 22, 12, and 9 or something like that. He had a 16-point game, he had a 13-point game. You know, he was sort of hitting sort of above his averages, sort of what you expected from Lonzo's second year. You thought he averaged 10, 7, and 7 rookie season. You thought maybe he could go 13, 9, and probably 7 still. 13, 9, and 7. Maybe just improve a bit on points, maybe get a bit more assists because you got LeBron James there, and sort of your rebounds would stay the same because LeBron James likes to rebound as well, something like that. But you thought he would slightly improve, but he's dissipated. He's dissipated a lot, and it's probably something as a Lonzo lover I'm not liking at the moment, but it's sort of one that you have to accept. And sort of going on again with the Lakers theme, Brandon Ingram, I think it's sort of, I wouldn't say the writing's on the wall for him to be a Laker, but I think the writing's on the wall for him in being the second best player on the Lakers. It's quite clear that Kyle Kuzma has that dog factor, and even though he's probably, I would even say, I don't think offensively he's better, even defensively I think Brandon Ingram has all the assets to be a lot better than Kyle Kuzma, but the one thing that you can't teach and the one thing that you can't build in is sort of that personality, your mental fortitude and stuff like that. And I think Kyle Kuzma has this sort of chip on his shoulder. Obviously, he was a late draft pick, and he has this sort of dog mentality about him, where he's just gonna go get his, and he's gonna score. He's gonna score relentless. And even though he's gonna take he takes a lot of bad shots, but he takes a lot of good shots as well. And it's sort of the touch and go you have with Kuzma. And Ingram, he's sometimes a bit too passive, and sometimes he just, I don't know, especially in the OKC game, he didn't go passive, but he just sort of went too hero. I know it's sort of, not ironic, but sort of, hypocritical me saying he's too passive, and then I sort of, get on him when he's trying to be a bit too more aggressive and stuff. But it's sort of like that weird balance that you need. And I think Ingram's sort of missing it. And obviously, I'm not going to write off Ingram. I think Ingram's going to be a special player. The man's only 21 years old, so he's as old as he is as old as Lonzo. So he's still young. He's still got a lot of years behind him or ahead of him. So I don't know, behind him. Come on, Jordan. He's got a lot of years ahead of him. So definitely, there's no need to write him off now. But especially with the Lakers, who are looking to win now-ish or even to the future, or if they can win now, they will want to win now. It's going to be sort of tough pickings for Brandon Ingram. But, sort of talking about, Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball and stuff sort of carries on to what's sort of been the big news, in the especially when I was on holidays and stuff, sort of the big news that was sort of circulating around the NBA media outlets and stuff like that was the potential trade rumors for Anthony Davis. And Anthony Davis, what can we say, man? We already know what Anthony Davis is. Former Defensive Player of the Year, always an MVP candidate, easy 25 and 10. At some points, he averages like 30 and 15, gives you 2.5 to 3 blocks. He's up to his assist numbers. I think he's nearly at 5 assists as well. So this guy's basically doing everything for the team. But as it stands right now, they're second last. They're second last in the West. Second last. They basically have one of the better. They have good odds to get the number 1 draft pick. That's how bad. That's sort of how bad you have to think of it. They are. They have good odds to get a number 1 draft pick. Like that's ridiculous to even think that a team that not only has Anthony Davis but has Drew Holiday, who's playing really, really well. Offensively, assists, points. Defensively, he's one of the better defending guards. Julius Randle, who I dubbed as 6th man of the year, which I don't know what happened because of the team's placing, but his stats definitely reflect on him being sort of a 6th man of the year candidate. He is playing well, but somehow it's just not cohesive to the Pelicans playing good basketball. I don't know. It's just weird. It's just one of the teams where it's like, why aren't they playing better? And it sort of comes to a point where, you know, you can blame the organization, you can blame the coaching staff and stuff like that. But it's like, do you think Giannis Antetokounmpo has better supporting cast than the Pelicans? Do the Bucks have a better supporting cast than the Pelicans? Arguable. And even at that arguable point, the Bucks are number 1 in the East? And the Pelicans are nearly last in the West. And I know you're going to say that the East is a lot easier than the West. And you could have said that 2-3 years ago. But the East has increased. The East is better. The East is better. Toronto is better. The Celtics are still good. 76ers are good. The Pacers are good. There's a lot of good teams. A lot of good teams in the East as well. So it's not no picnic, as Yogi Bear would say, for the Milwaukee Bucks. It's still hard for them, and they're soon to be playing well with a one dominant superstar. So why can't Anthony Davis be that one dominant superstar? Why? Because I know the Milwaukee Bucks are probably going to be beating the Brooklyn Nets. Why can't the Pelicans beat the Brooklyn Nets? That's all I have to say. But, with those rumors sort of, carrying on and sort of this disrupted nature that's emanating within the Pelicans locker room, or within I wouldn't say the locker room. I'll probably, the locker room's probably chill, but, sort of what the media projection is towards the Pelicans, and Anthony Davis in particular. I think Anthony Davis, he's definitely not happy. But is he gonna be looking for a trade? Is he that unhappy? Maybe he's that unhappy. I don't know. But it seems that if he was gonna get a trade, it seems that the Lakers are the only destination. How desperate is the Pelicans in sort of extracting what the Lakers have? Are they gonna be? There was rumors that they wanted Ingram and Kuzma. Can they get Ingram and Kuzma? I'm not too sure. I don't know if that's what the Lakers really want to give up, especially Kuzma at this point, which I, mentioned is he is a stud. He is a stud. Ingram and Ball, is that good enough for AD? I think that's pretty decent. Ingram and Ball, I think Ingram and Ball on a different team opens it up completely. Think about Ingram, Drew Holiday, Ball, Randall. It sort of sounds like the last year's Lakers, which didn't do too well, so it's probably not promising. But you still probably got Mirotic on the team, Etuan Moore, Ian Clark, Solomon Hill. They got a decent supporting cast, which is sort of why I'm frustrated with AD and why I can't transfer it over. But maybe it is the numbers are sort of maybe not. So this is the writing on the wall for AD to stay with the Pelicans. Who knows? But I think, if I was going to give a executive prediction, I'll say that AD does not get traded this season. And I think all eyes wait on what his response is when he gets offered that Supermax. But yeah. Onto that, the Golden State Warriors don't seem to be invincible nowadays. I'm recording this the night of James Harden's disgusting game winner, and as I sort of get to, I sort of get to James Harden later on in the podcast, but that game winner is disgusting, like disgusting. Draymond in his face, Clay on his side, gets fouled, no call, and still hits the 3 with 1 second left in the overtime. Disgusting. But yeah, as I mentioned, the Golden State Warriors don't look as invincible as they are. And obviously there was that sort of, I think it even happened when I was on holidays again, that whole disruptive tension between, Kevin Durant and Draymond Green and stuff like that. Klay Thompson, as I think I definitely mentioned in the podcast, is shooting 34%. And he's, that's definitely not Klay Thompson like. Steph Curry was injured for a while. there's a lot of niggling problems with the Golden State Warriors. They seem to have this sort of snowball effect, and even though all these the dramatic issues with them are occurring, they're still like what, top 2 in the West. I think I don't have the ladder up on me up for me now, but they are probably top 2 in the West or something like that. So they are still playing ridiculously well, and they are definitely still the favorites for the championship, But for a lot of teams, there is a gap in the road. That's definitely not a phrase at all. I just made that up. But you sort of catch my drift. There is some sense of mortalness to this team. Until DeMarcus Cousins is back. Until DeMarcus Cousins come back, and then, oh my god, then they just... they'll be disgusting. And that's sort of where I'll leave it with Golden State, because, they're always circling around the media outlets. I guarantee you tomorrow they're going to be like, they lost a 20-point lead. It's going to be the same conversation. Just wait till DeMarcus Cousins comes back. It'll be a different conversation. And who knows, might not even be a positive, might be negative, maybe it makes the team even worse, but we sort of just have to wait till DeMarcus Cousins is back. Actually, funny enough, Golden State is gonna play the next games against the Mavericks, and the next sort of thing I want to talk about is Luka the Don Doncic. Actually, before, I guess on the term why I said the Don, I don't know why his nickname is not the Don. I know the Don means Godfather. It's like the Godfather. You're sort of the man at hats. And I know he's 19, and maybe he doesn't have that type of resume to sort of allude to him as the Don. But have you seen what this guy does? This guy's a freak. This guy's an animal, and he's pudgy as F. And I know you could hear all that noise of me sort of adjusting my seat because it gets me sweaty, gets me hot and bothered. How good this kid is. Luka Doncic is a beast. And if a lot of people might have listened to my podcast with Craig from Raswell.com, and I sort of made when we were sort of breaking down the Phoenix Suns season, for 2018/19, so what we expected, I sort of mentioned and sort of put in a little thing saying that do you think that the Phoenix Suns made a mistake in not picking Luka Doncic? Did the Sacramento Kings make a mistake in not picking Luka Doncic? And obviously at the time, I said, even Craig said that, it's too early to tell. All these youngsters are, they're still, they're gonna get better and stuff like that. Obviously, it's way too early to tell, but I'm just gonna say right now, they all left up. Luka Doncic is the man. He is the man. He is the second coming of Dirk. It's just like he is. I think it's Larry Bird. I think he is like I know. I think it was on the Bill Simmons podcast or some podcast I was listening to. Some NBA scout said that he reminded him of Larry Bird, and everyone sort of scoffed at that opinion, like Larry Bird just because he's white, blah blah blah. But this guy could be the next Larry Bird. This guy shoots the three very well. He rebounds very effectively. He has a great passing and one that's very effective. He nearly got a triple double where he would have been the youngest person to get a triple. This guy's still 19, man. This guy's still 19. In some places, he can't drink in America. He can't. In some places in Singapore, he won't be allowed to drink. Luka Doncic is 19 and he's putting up the numbers that he is. And I know people are going to be like, oh, but look, DeAndre Ayton's averaging 16 and 11. Trae Young's averaging like 15 and something. Jaren Jackson scored 38 points against the Lakers. I don't care. Because Luka Doncic is the man. He is what we need in life. Luka Doncic is the boy. I think he's definitely the front runner for the Rookie of the Year, and as I mentioned, I will be probably doing a NBA All-Star podcast, and don't be surprised if a certain the Don sort of gets in there, but we sort of get that to when it is. Another guy who's probably or definitely gonna be an NBA All-Star is James Harden, and what a tear this guy had in December, and it seems to be carrying over in January. This guy's just scores 40 points on the regular, averages a lot of rebounds, a lot of assists, even a lot of steals. And he's sort of been glorified, he's got an ex-MVP, or he's doing things that, only Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant have done. Oh, he's leading his team to a great, he'd been able to salvage a Rockets team without Chris Paul. They're on a great winning streak, or winning run, whatever you say. I don't like James Harden. No personal reason. If anything, personally, I like the guy. He's got good style. I like his shoes. He's got a nice beard. The haircut. His hairline's sort of, fading back, but he's been able to salvage it with a really, really nice haircut. He got out of the Kardashian curse. He's just a good guy. But Jordan, why don't you like James Harden then? You know why I don't like James Harden? Averages 7 turnovers a game. That's why I don't like James Harden. Why don't I like James Harden? The guy scores 40 points off 9 made field goals. 9. You know why? Because he had 26 free throw attempts. 26. How can anyone like a guy that has 26 free throw attempts? How could one man get 26 free throw attempts? How could the referee signal 26 free throw attempts? No, not to a whole team. Not to both teams, even. To one individual player. 26 free throw attempts. 26. And I know he's putting up the stats. And I know basketball's not about being sexy. It's not about trying to have the flashy plays. And, even though he has some flashy plays, as I mentioned, he had that disgusting, dirty, slutty body... slutty... oh, God, I don't know what I'm saying. Slutty buzzer beater against the Warriors. He had that. The guy had that. He has the step backs. He has the Euro steps. He has the posterizing dunks. He has those. So why don't you like him, Jordan? Because the guy has 7 turnovers a game. Because the guy has that many free throw attempts a game. You can't like a guy that plays like that. And the reason why you can't like a guy like that, especially if you're a Rockets fan, is because when it gets to the playoffs, you think he's getting 26 free throw attempts himself? Do you think 7 turnovers is not going to drastically impact the game in the playoffs? Yes, he's putting up monster stats. Yes, he's putting up 60-point triple-doubles. Yes, he could even be the NBA MVP coming up at the end of the season, overtaking a Giannis or a Kawhi Leonard. But I'm telling you, he's not going to be getting that many free throw attempts in the playoffs. He's not going to be effective. And his team is not going to be effective with him turning over the ball that much. They won't. So when all these things, when the whole cycle comes again and we say that James Harden is a choker in the playoffs, like he did when he was in San Antonio, like he did last year when he was up by double digits in the fourth quarter in Game 7 against the Golden State Warriors. We can keep saying that he's a great player. But until he performs in the playoffs effectively, what is James Harden? What is he? He's not the Peyton Manning of the NBA. Because even Peyton Manning was able to get 2 Super Bowl rings with 2 different teams. So what is James Harden? Is he Will Chamberlain? No, you know why? Because Will's got a championship. Well, then what is he? Is he Bernard King? Bernard King, he was good. He was good. And what could a 20-year-old like me know about Bernard King? I know my history. The man was a scoring phenom. New York Knicks. Had that little fadeaway jumper. Near the key. Got his body fade. Hit that jumper in your face. But he never won anything. Who else? Dominique Wilkins. We all love Dominique Wilkins. He could dunk. He scored a lot of points. He ran Atlanta. He made Atlanta relevant. But he never won a championship. Never. And I hate to be that guy that talks about championships all the time. I hate to be the guy that talks about playoff performance, because everyone's going to make the argument, oh, Jordan, but like, he was able to, he was able to get his team to the playoffs. Without him, they wouldn't even make the playoffs. Cool. That's cool. I don't care. Because you didn't finish your job, bruh. You didn't finish your job. You gotta finish your job. Alright? You gotta finish your job. I could have gotten, I could have done very well for every single assignment at university, and then when it gets to the exams, I fail. I'm not saying that's what I do, actually. That's not what I do. But I'm saying, imagine if that happened. No one's going to appreciate me. Like, mate, you failed when it mattered. That's James Harden. He passed all his assignments in school. He did well. He was getting good marks. But when the biggest percentage results, that's probably not the best way to phrase it. Basically, when the biggest thing of all came to him, which is the end of year exam, he choked. That's his SATs. He choked. James Harden, I'm not going to appreciate you until you do something in the playoffs. So I'll come back in a couple months. If you're not in the finals, if you're not even in the conference finals, my case is then closed again. Jeez, that was weird. I guess sort of moving on from basketball, I did want to mention briefly, obviously past 45 minutes, but obviously I did really want to mention briefly the Mayweather tension fight. Was sort of underlooked. Obviously with UFC 232 happening, and I probably won't get to it now, but obviously shout out to Amanda Nunes for that shocking knockout of Cyborg in the first minute basically, and shout out to John Jones with a great win. It's a great, just all-round dominant win against Alexander Gustafsson. But the main fight that everyone wants to hear and talk about is the Mayweather tension. I think that's I should really get his name. I shouldn't butcher his name because it's probably disrespectful, but a fight, as I mentioned, Tenshin Nasukawa. That's what and that's not trying to be racist. That's like what the commentators say. The Tenshin Nasukawa. Like they do it with that intensity, which is respect. But it was on Ryzen, which is sort of a MMA centric fighting organization, which is sort of, you tried to rival against the UFC, but just didn't really didn't really get much out of it at all. But yeah, there was sort of this fight, Mayweather versus Tension, which sort of was under the radar until closer to the date, obviously. And the fight wasn't even gonna happen at one point. There was they had that big press conference and stuff, talked about the fight. And then they sort of pulled the fight and then said the fight was back on, but then it was going to be a glorified sparring for just some private investors. But then as it turned out, there was a full sort of crowd. A lot of things happened, but the main thing that happened was Mayweather destroying Tension. It was just a boxing fight. Mayweather came out looking cocky as hell because he knew he was going to defeat this guy. Because this guy was like, Mayweather's 5'8", this guy was 5'4", 5'3", Mayweather's 145-ish, this guy's like 120-ish. There's just all these advantages to Floyd Mayweather. And with those advantages, he destroyed him. He just destroyed him, knocked him down 3 times. I will be honest, I'm not going to say there was sort of any fixing on anything like that, because there was one big punch that Floyd caught Tension with it. I'm like, yo, dude, anyone, even though he sort of got these glass fragile hands, but anyone would have got, days from that hit. So I'm not gonna say it looked fixed, but it definitely the last knockdown looked a bit iffy. It looked iffy. So that's just my opinion. I'll be honest, but it's sort of, it's just like the fight was just like, why? It's just a lot of why. Like why would you fight? Obviously there's a clear why. The guy fucking Mayweather made $9 million. Of course he's gonna fight, but it's just like what? Like the bro's like nearly a billionaire, man. Like why fight for $9 million? Why? Like nothing's gonna happen. And I feel bad for Tenjin because he, obviously he's gonna put his name in the lights. Obviously he was really, really big in Japan. He was sort of this next Japanese kickboxing phenom, and all that. But this sort of just puts a bad look on Tenjin, man. And I feel bad, and it's just like, what can we say about the fight, man? It's sort of, Mayweather again. He remains very, very, very stringent on the idea that he is retired from boxing. We'll see, maybe if Pacquiao beats Broner in, I think it's February, maybe he'll be like, I'm gonna fight Pacquiao then and have Mayweather versus Pac to try and milk as much money as they can again, which they definitely will, because I'll be one of those guys who is milking. Yes, that is a joke of Floyd Mayweather milking me. Yes, you got that clear, right? I said he's going to be milking as much money as he can, and I said he's going to be milking me. You get that? Jeez, this podcast is fried, man. I love this podcast. I just go ape on it. It's just, man, I love this podcast. Again, if you guys probably skipped ahead and all that stuff, wanted to go to more of the sports things, sort of a wrap of what I sort of mentioned at the beginning. This podcast I'm posting on Saturday is sort of the usual schedule I'm going to follow. Every week I'm going to do a basketball/sports podcast on Saturday, sort of a wrap of the week's sporting events and stuff like that. Just on top of that as well, I'll probably do like some more one-off podcasts. As I mentioned, I'm going to probably do an NBA All-Star podcast coming up soon, as along with a NBA mid-season sort of dissection as well. Along with that, I'm going to be sort of proposing a new my Asian backpacking docu-series, which is looking to sort of commence, I'm hoping, either around the NBA All-Star break, if not the 1st of March, which is sort of the two goals I have set in my mind. So we'll sort of see how that pans out in the future. But yeah, thanks for listening. Obviously, me being absent is probably not the most ideal. I know you guys loved and missed my voice and stuff. You probably didn't give an F that I was gone. But yeah, thanks for everyone that listened. I'm going to continue to listen in the new year, because I do have a lot of great stuff coming up in regards to the podcast. So, hope you guys stay tuned in and all that. Yeah, Happy New Year. Hope you guys, achieve your dreams and your resolutions and all that garbage. But yeah, I think that's about it, eh?